This is next level silliness. None of the online globe representatives have gone anywhere near this Indian moon landing, and rightly so, because it's embarrassing. But fear not, globe believers, there is someone out there willing to defend it with a passion, as we're about to see. This, bizarrely enough, was suggested to me in my feed. Someone at YouTube, I fear, is having a laugh. Hey, I'll entertain it because it highlights the absurdity of the mainstream and, of course, the mindset of the mainstream believer. Essentially, they are left with, because of their beliefs, they're left with the discernment of a pebble, as we're about to see.
This is huge space news. This morning, India became the first country to have a controlled landing on the south pole of the moon. They
I hate to break it to you, young lady. Obviously, this is from a few days ago, but it's just been suggested to me now. I hate to break it to you, young lady, but watching cartoons on a TV screen, despite the fact grown ups were clapping it, but watching cartoons on a TV screen isn't proof of anything. Doesn't matter if there's some numbers on the screen as well. Doesn't matter if there's grown adults clapping that cartoon. Doesn't matter if you get to see some images after of a rough terrain. None of that is evidence that India have landed on the moon. If anything, every single thing we've been shown so far is evidence of exactly the opposite. They've gone nowhere near the moon. You've only got to look at my last few videos regarding this Indian moon landing silliness to see that. Not that you'd need to, you would have only needed to see one of the original clips. And of course, I annihilated in the last video I did. The Indian so-called lunar rover totally exposed the whole charade anyway. Check that video out if you haven't seen it. But this is what happens when you believe mainstream silliness. You really don't have a clue about reality. You believe cartoons are now achievements made in space. It's scary to see.
landed a lander and a rover. The south pole of the moon is huge for science, and India, Russia, China, and the United States are all trying to get there, especially after India discovered the presence of water ice on the south pole of the moon.
I noticed you didn't show the cartoon landing. You are showing us some nice artwork, but you didn't show the cartoon landing. That's interesting, isn't it?
2009. So exploring that and the other minerals that are there is very exciting. At the time I'm filming this, there are no publicly released images of the surface of the moon.
Oh, trust me, some silly images have come out. We've had some footage of the lunar rover going towards a ditch, then cut out, and then come reappear the other side of the ditch. And strangely enough, it looked like there'd been a clean-up job done in the area of the ditch. And based on logical conclusion, any man with the slightest bit of common sense can work out that that rover got stuck in the ditch and as a result had to get rescued by someone. And because of that, they had to do a clean-up job with the footprints, etc.
From this lander. However, in the background of some of the photos from people who were in mission control, there is a photo of the surface of the moon. There it is.
Bless you, my dear. How naive and gullible can you get?
Something that's very cool is that India's budget for this mission, Chandrayaan 3, was $75 million, which is less than half of the cost of the movie Interstellar. This is huge.
Of course, it's going to be less than half the cost of the movie Interstellar. It was a terrible sci-fi movie. Interstellar's not a bad sci-fi movie. What was the cost? Interstellar 165 million. So 75 million for the Chandrayaan 3 pantomime. So yeah, that's about right. There's obviously no evidence of either one of these productions being real because they're not. And the production quality of Interstellar was far superior, so it justified the higher price tag. The Chandrayaan 3, I hate to break it to you, was quite expensive, really, given what we've seen. I probably could have bettered what we've seen of the Chandrayaan-3 and come up with stories that of course can't be verified by anyone, just like the Chandrayaan-3 as well, for a lot less. I would have come in at 1 million. How's that? And I would have given most of the money to local homeless people in my area. How about that? And I still would have achieved more than India did, produced better cartoons, and will come up with better stories as well. This young lady's so confused. So she's even highlighting the fact it's just a cheap movie, but not even realizing it because of her bias towards sci-fi fantasy and spherical rocks residing in a vacuum. It's crazy to see members of the public so baffled and confused by the simple truth of this realm, simply because of what they've been told by certain individuals or establishments, or shown sci-fi things on the television screen. Put that collection together and you've got a deluded pantomime. So let me just simplify it for you, young lady, how silly this moon landing is, okay? You've seen cartoons, you've got some numbers, you've seen a few images. Great. That doesn't serve anyone, okay? Particularly the people of India. So let's just address if it is real and what should really be happening. India should be going to the moon, taking hundreds of cameras up there, some with zoom capabilities, all of them set up facing the Earth 24/7. Some of the cameras, they could sell the live stream footage to weather channels. And just doing that alone, they'd save thousands of lives each year. Just by watching the Earth 24/7, able to watch, observe the Earth, the weather patterns, and as a result, based on what they're seeing, save thousands of lives. You can make a lot of money from that just alone. With other cameras, you could sell to add revenue. Imagine how cool that would be. And then other cameras, you could save for real science, having zoom capabilities to zoom in and out on parts of the Earth. Remember, India, just off the ad revenue from the weather and the ads, just from the revenue from those two, could not only pay for their annual space budget, but they could also probably pay for 2 or 3 years of their budget every year based off the revenue that comes back from those cameras. The money they were going to spend on space could be spent on the poor people of India. That's right, about the people, helping the people, bettering mankind, which is what space is supposed to be about anyway. That's what should really be going on. It's not going on because no one's on the moon. This is a slow motion charade that holds people back, traps them in a mindset that is quite frankly just deluded. This young lady, I don't know her, nothing against her, but she highlights the absurdity of the mainstream believer by thinking space achievements have been proven to her via cartoon and images. And even the base claims themselves are absurd when you consider where we're at now in this timeline of supposed space. We should be having firework displays on the moon. We should be having being able to hire cameras to zoom in and out in certain areas, and we could do our own firework displays and view it from the moon. But no, we don't get any of that. We get very dodgy looking footage, cartoons, and naive, very naive people believing it. Very, very few attempting to defend it. Have a good one, everyone.